today we are getting the platinum on a game based off one of my favourite horror franchises, which is A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead. This game is rated a 4 out of 10 difficulty and takes approximately 18 hours to platinum. There's 38 bronzes, 13 silvers and 1 gold trophy on the way to our platinum. So in this first playthrough, we'll be completing the game on the hardest difficulty, so we can unlock the 3 trophies for completing it on easy, medium and hard. Jumping straight into the hard difficulty sounds bad at first, but to be honest this game barely has any difference between the hardest difficulty and the easiest. Because the only things which really change is the items you can collect and how much noise you can make before the monsters kill you. But to be honest, I'm pretty stealthy, so we should be fine. So starting off, the game revolves around a single character called Alex Taylor, who is just trying to survive the aftermath of these blind aliens called Death Angels taking over Earth. Now if you haven't watched any Quiet Place movie, then first of all, what the hell are you doing? Because they are amazing. But if not, well just imagine a xenomorph from the movie's Alien, but they are blind and have super enhanced hearing instead. The beginning of the game is pretty much a tutorial showing us that we can't make a lot of noise and the environment is important to watch out for, because things like leaves or puddles of water on the floor make a lot of noise. After that, we then get a jump scare and Alex has an asthma attack. Yeah, that's right, she suffers with asthma, which surely won't make this game more difficult, right? And then after the cutscene, we pop our very first trophy for completing the prologue. We then fast forward and we're out scavenging for supplies with the same person from earlier who is called Martin, who is the main character's boyfriend. So whilst we're scavenging supplies, I pop 2 trophies. The first is for finding our first toy collectible, and the last for finding our first mixtape. And if you was wondering, sadly no, Alex is not a rapper. We then jump down into a bathroom and loot some medicine and also a pregnancy test, which turns out that Alex is pregnant. Oh yeah, that's great, she's pregnant, asthmatic and being hunted down by literal blind aliens. Alright then, GG's. Anyway, we find a safe area and there's a lot of these in the game, which are basically just areas that have been covered up with soundproofing items which are usually underground. And inside here, we pop another collectible trophy for looking at all these children's drawings. We then tell the news to Martin of the pregnancy and somehow this causes us to have an asthma attack, which then gives us a little explanation into how they affect the gameplay, and yeah, trust me, it can be frustrating at times, which you'll see later on. The next morning, we take the supplies we gathered and head back to our base, but whilst climbing over this tree log blocking the path, we get stuck, which makes lots of noise and Martin sacrifices his life for us. And finally, that's that chapter done, and we pop a trophy for it. We then fast forward in time and we've made it to our home base, which is a hospital, and after speaking to our dad, we head to find some nausea tablets. Before heading there though, if we head into this chapel and light all the candles, we'll pop a trophy for it. We then get the pills from the medicine cabinet and head back to our room and fall asleep. But we are shortly awakened with a character called Laura, who is the mother to our boyfriend. Well, should I say was. And she's holding our positive pregnancy test, which she isn't happy to find out about and literally locks us in our room. Like, wait, what bro? We're not 5 years old, what's she doing? But luckily, our dad comes to let us free and tells us we need to leave the hospital now and helps us into a nearby vent to escape. Inside the vent, we see our dad and Laura arguing and another man pushes our dad over into a door which smashes. Oh shit, noise. Yeah, you know what's coming next. Before we can have our first encounter with the Death Angels, we get something called a phonometer, and although it sounds like ass, trust me, this right here is the saviour of this game. Without this, I would have been screwed. Basically, it's just a makeshift device which shows us the noise we are making on the right and the environment's noise on the left. So yeah, if we're quiet than the environment, it's easy peasy. We then head into a parking lot and have our first encounter with the Death Angel, which I can't lie, these scenes are actually intense, especially when you're trying to watch out for stuff in the environment. But we manage to escape and we pop a trophy for leaving the hospital. Whilst making our way to regroup with our dad, I finally make too much noise which attracts the monster. And I can't lie, I wish I had the live reaction to this because I literally shit my pants. But guess what, now you can get my live reactions to future games because I am now streaming all my gameplay over on Twitch Monday to Friday 9 PM till 12 AM BST, so come check out the streams. Oh yeah, I also pop a trophy here for making too much noise. We then make it into a house and inside I pop another collectible trophy for reading all the documents in one chapter. And just before we can climb out of the house onto the roof, Laura comes through and scares us, which makes us fall. So yeah, of course this attracts the blind aliens, but in this area we can actually get 2 trophies, which are remembering and over there. And the reason we can unlock these trophies is we have now gained the ability to throw bottles or bricks to distract the aliens. So for the remembering trophy, all we need to do is throw a bottle at these 4 statues in this area and the trophy pops. But because I for some reason couldn't get this trophy to pop, I ended up popping the over there trophy, which is for throwing 25 bottles total. And after eventually making it through this area, I'm finally about to climb over the fence when the alien literally pulls me off the fence. Trust me, I was fuming.
I am fucking fuming!
But anyway, this time I make no noise and escape safely. And then that's the chapter done and our trophy. We then go back in time, basically to just after we had the asthma attack from the start of the game. And if we head inside this shed, we can pop 2 trophies. The first is for opening the suitcase. And the second is for finding the combination of the suitcase. Yeah, I did those trophies backwards because that's how we roll around here. We then head inside the house and pop another trophy for collecting 10 toys. We then look out the window and see the aliens crashing down to Earth, which is of course how this thing started. And oh yeah, we also pop a trophy for witnessing the blind aliens' arrival. Back to present time now, and we finally found our dad at the radio station. But we find out the radio antenna is offline, so we need to head there to switch it back on. Once we make it to the top of the radio antennas, we activate them and hear a broadcast saying there's boats being loaded in the harbour in Clinton, which will take us to safety. We then head to a porch area and pop a trophy for knocking off these 2 buckets off the roof. Bit of a risky trophy, I'm not gonna lie. Shortly after this, we head through an opening and hear a gunfire, and we see Laura stood looking at our dad after just shooting him. Man, fuck Laura, I'll say it. Well, lucky for us, the blind alien helps us and knocks her flying. Carrying on, we now have to make our way past the blind alien, and this is where I start to get pissed off with the pathing of this thing. Because why the fuck is this thing pathing towards me when I'm literally sat in a corner making no noise? I kind of feel like they made this thing to just follow you constantly no matter what noise you make. And oh, don't worry, because this shit happens to me more than once, and it even happens again literally straight after this. Maybe it's just me, is this a skill issue? But finally, we make it to safety behind a waterfall which blocks all the noise around us. And then that's it, that's the chapter done, and another trophy. Carrying on, we get another new item, which is basically just a bag of sand, which we can pour on the floor to hide our footsteps. We'll also be starting the progress for another trophy here, which is for emptying 20 sandbags. Plus, we'll be able to get another trophy in this area, which is for scaring all the flock of birds away. Now, if you thought like me, the monsters can't get even more annoying, well guess what? Yeah, they can, because now they can do this scanning thing, which means we can't move at all whilst they do this. Anyway, we climb up a ladder, and at the top, the ladder falls off behind us, which means we then have a chase scene with the monsters, and somehow we managed to outchase the monster, and somehow we actually managed to outchase it. Yeah, sure, I'm sure we can do that. But somehow we managed to do that, and then at the end of the chapter, we pop another trophy. Now we go back in time again, and this time we're inside a van trying to escape the monsters, and all we've got to defend ourselves is a shotgun. Which isn't actually that bad, to be honest. All we need to do is shoot the claws of the monsters as they jump onto the van. Oh, and also there's a trophy here for doing this without dying, so I have to lock in on this part. And after we make it to the end, we pop 2 trophies, one for not dying, and finally the one for completing the chapter. So in the next chapter I should get 2 more trophies, but during this game I was trying to test out a new recording device and I actually lost the full chapter here. So let's pretend these trophies pop now. The trophies I should get here is Keep the Breath, which is for successfully resisting an asthma attack, and then another one for escaping the pump station. Luckily the recording device is actually much better, so it should be smooth from here on out, but yeah, still a shame that I lost the entire chapter. But we've got to work with what we got. So carrying on with some actual footage now, whilst making our way through a warehouse, I get another trophy for using 30 inhalers. We then climb up on a roof, and at the top we find another briefcase, which we open, and once we do, we pop a trophy for opening all the briefcases in the game. And what a surprise, here's me thinking I have everything sorted recording wise. Guess what? No I haven't, because somehow I still managed to miss another trophy, which is for reaching the harbour and finishing the chapter basically. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna say it, 4K capture utility, that thing is such a nightmare to get right. Luckily it should be done now, but I did say that last time, so who knows, let's just hope, eh? I then make my way into a safe area, and at the end there's a lock on the door, and obviously I'm watching a trophy guide, so I pop another trophy here, which is for finding the harbour door combinations on the first try. Yeah, obviously I didn't do that. We finally made our way to the harbour, but before going down, I found another sandbag and popped the trophy for emptying 20 of them. We then lock another ability where if we destroy these TV screens, the feedback from the TV will distract the monsters. Which is actually pretty important because we'll be now getting another trophy for getting the monster to destroy 3 of the TVs. We have finally nearly made it to safety. So in this area, all we need to do is turn on the power so then we can board a boat. But whilst we turn on the power, we actually earn another trophy. So after turning on the lights, we then turn on some sprinklers, and as we are leaving, I actually pop one of the speedrun trophies, which is for finishing this area in under 7 minutes. How the fuck did I manage to do that first try? Well, we'll take that. We then make it into another safe area, and in here it is trophy popping time, because in here we're going to pop pretty much majority of the collectible trophies. Which actually sounds super exciting, but in reality it's only actually 2 trophies. So the first is for collecting all the mixtapes, and the second is for collecting all the documents in the game. We then make it into an area that is completely covered in smoke, and as we are trying to turn a lever to open a door, we are pulled away by an unknown character. Which surprisingly ends up being Laura, who killed our dad at the start of the game, and she has come to save our life by giving us the gas mask so we can get the boat and escape. I'm not gonna lie, this girl just seems to get carried through everything. Like, 1 minute it's her boyfriend saving her, then it was her dad saving her, and now it's Laura saving her. Jeez, this girl just gets carried. So with the gas mask we can finally board the boat, but first we have to do this very fast because we only have a certain amount of time to finish it in before the gas mask runs out. But we actually have a more pressing concern right now, which is getting the final collectible trophy for collecting all the toys. And it then happens again. I'm just about to board the boat and the monster grabs me at the very last second before I finish the game. This is twice this has happened to me now. What a fucking joke. But on the second time around I actually get it down, and I actually managed to finish this within 2 minutes 15, which pops as one of the speedrun trophies. There's actually one little detail I didn't actually realise till now, but it actually looks like Laura climbs to the top of the lighthouse to distract the monsters by lighting up the tower. One of the monsters actually manages to jump on our boat as we're leaving, but we headshot him with a shotgun, and then we managed to escape, and that's the story done. And now it's trophy popping time, with the first one for escaping on the boat. The second is for completing on the easy difficulty, the third is for completing on the medium difficulty, and finally the fourth for completing on the hard difficulty. And then we close the game out with a cutscene of someone talking to us through the radio. So can you remember the toys I was collecting for the story? Well, these actually give you points, and with these points we can buy things like concept arts and 3D models. And we can actually pop 4 trophies here for buying those items. So of course the first is for buying our first concept art, and the second for buying all the concept arts, and then one for buying our first 3D model, and finally one for buying all the 3D models. So now we're on to the speedrun trophies, and believe it or not, most of these were actually a breeze, mainly because I did fail on the areas quite a lot, so by now I pretty much mastered it. And the first one I actually end up doing is from the mission from near the start of the game, where I got right to the end and then got caught. So this one I did first try, easy peasy. And here's a trophy for doing it in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. The next one was a bit more of a challenge, which was for completing the campsite chapter in under 7 minutes. But I managed to get it done, and here's a trophy for doing so. The next one was another pretty straightforward one. I think I did this first try, which was for completing the train track area in under 6 minutes 30 seconds. The next speedrun trophy is for completing the chapter that I didn't get my capture card working for, which is called Pump Station, and we have to finish that within under 7 minutes. The next speedrun trophy is for turning the power on and leaving the warehouse within 3 minutes 15 seconds. And the second to last one, which is finishing the harbour chapter in under 2 minutes 15 seconds. And finally the last, which was for passing the area where our dad died in under 1 minute 45 seconds. But yeah, the recording was fucked, so we don't have this one. God, I'm so glad to have this game done with. I'm sorry for how this video's turned out. And finally, the last trophy, which is for using 15 flares. There's the platinum, and yeah, I'm just glad to get this one done with. If any of you guys actually managed to make it this far, thank you so much. I'm sorry for how this video's gone, but it's been that long since I've actually posted a video because I've started streaming that I just needed to get this out. And I know most of the footage is shit and it's a pretty bad video, but I just wanted to give you guys content, and I promise the next video will be so much more better. So if you're here, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.